Sports betting is everywhere.
Sports betting.
Sports betting.
Sports betting.
Sports gambling.
Sports gambling.
Sports betting.
Sports betting.
It doesn't even matter whether you follow sports or not, you still could see those advertisements all the time.
This is that next frontier.
It's addictive and oftentimes it's destructive.
It has ruined every aspect of my life.
And I had £500,000 worth of pure gambling debt.
Sports betting is nothing new. In fact, its history can be traced back to the ancient Greeks in 700 BC, when people used to bet on sports events including boxing, chariot racing or Olympic Games. However, it was the Romans who took it to the next level by legalizing it. But let's not elaborate that. In recent history, in the 18th century, the UK first came up with the idea of large-scale gambling in the racing courses. People used to bet on horses to win races, and quickly it became a massive success worldwide. But things in sports really started to shake up during the early 20th century. In 1919, 8 players of the MLB club Chicago White Sox were accused of fixing the World Series against the Cincinnati Reds for 100 grand from a gambling syndicate. The incident shocked the world, as everybody understood that a large-scale illicit activity was going on in the background. And unsurprisingly, 10 years later, Nevada legalized sports betting to stop these extensive illegal betting businesses and spot fixing that were taking place. And also partly because they didn't want to miss out on the huge taxation dollars from the booming market. For the next 60 years, the industry was on a roller coaster ride until the US government passed legislation against gambling in 1992 and finally in 2006 with former President George W. Bush signing it. It seemed like that the sports gambling industry was finally in control. But what happened next was really unprecedented. Trying to close one loophole, the law opened multiple others, and that marked the rise of fantasy gaming worldwide, which was often redeemed as a game of skills, not luck. Just within 2 or 3 years, a lot of these fantasy sports companies grew into prominence in different parts of the world, mostly backed by the US venture capitalists. And my goodness, they successfully globalized gambling. In this type of gaming, instead of betting directly on the outcome of a specific contest, players need to pay an entry fee and create a virtual team to compete against opponents to try to win money or other prizes. But here, bettors were not losing a lot of money, nor did they get rich instantly. People might have been obsessed, but were not addicted to it in the first place. And because of that, it was not concerning for the time being. But slowly the obsession grew in people all over the world, and this was mainly due to the rapid rise in smartphone users and internet adoption. And popular sportspersons or celebrities encouraging you for betting made the practice feel like an integral part of the sports viewing experience, like donning a jersey or grabbing a coke. And with the subsequent legalization of sports betting in several countries in the world, along with aggressive expansion of fantasy gaming, the market size of sports gambling hits $91.3 billion in 2023, and it is expected to cross $231 billion in 2032 at a growth rate of 11.1%. The whole business, in fact, has become the most profitable business, and the companies are making fortunes out of it. But it has come with a massive cost: mass addiction of gambling.
I had blown through over $1 million, not all of it mine, and was facing criminal charges.
An ex-army major squandered £750,000, losing his home, his job, his family and his children. That person was me.
And the group most affected by this? Young men. They tend to be more addictive towards gambling, and that's exactly what these companies want. In fact, almost 1/3 of the world's total population gambled or participated in sports betting at some point in their lives, and the numbers are increasing. The condition is the worst in Australia, where 44% of the total population is addicted to it, and every day one Australian sports gambler commits suicide. Now the question is, how exactly did people become so addicted to gambling, especially in sports gambling?
But we really can't quite identify why we gamble. A lot of people just don't know what happened during the course of their lives that led them to gambling. And that seems to be the common pattern of problem gamblers, is that we have a big win to start, which is what gets us hooked.
It all starts with a dream. The dream of having enough money and a lavish lifestyle, a dream car and a dream home. People want to get rich quickly. But the problem is, in traditional gambling, the winnings depend on randomness of the outcome, while sports betting is fundamentally different. Bettors are convinced that their choices are the best ones. After all, they have been following sports since their childhood, so to them, they are kinda experts in it. And it gives an illusion of control, unlike traditional gambling. Some of them even turn to social media influencers, the self-proclaimed gambling experts, who just cash in on their followers. And this constant flow of sports betting information on social media, together with the brilliant marketing of these companies, drive people to bet higher and more frequently. There are dedicated TV segments in between the matches and multiple apps to analyze betting odds or how to build your fantasy team. Major tournaments or teams all are sponsored by these betting companies. In footballing world, betting and endorsing these apps are illegal, and footballers get banned for gambling practices. But the irony is, the second tier of English football and almost 40% of the shirt sponsors in the Premier League are these betting companies. So every time you tune into your favorite sports or apps, there will be a promotion of gambling. You can't escape it even if you want to. They will remind you again and again. And the thing that makes this more addictive, that you can bet whenever, however you want, just from your smartphone. This makes recovering from gambling the hardest thing, because the drug of choice is always in your pocket. The advertisements promote misleading risk-free bets, and other perks like sign-up bonuses make these behaviors seem not so risky and an easy-to-win thing. But data shows that around 70% of the sports bets placed are likely to lose. So even if you think you are in control, you are more likely to lose. Inevitably, after getting addicted, people lose all their life savings and tend to become depressed and suicidal. In fact, 19% of the gambling addicts commit suicide, more than any other addiction. And these companies might have provided cautions or say that they will help, but they don't really care about people.
Suicide calls were to be dealt with by only a senior manager. They just had to make a decision based on the threat and stick to it, and that it didn't matter once they hung up the phone, so that it didn't really matter.
All the governments know this, yet they allow this. Why? Because of the sweet tax money they're getting. Their taxes range from 20% to up to 51% in different countries. If these betting companies generating hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue, just imagine how much the governments are getting. And this is not all. Gambling companies are funding the politicians and lobbyists in the countries like India, Australia and USA to strengthen their prominence. But these figures are still tip of the iceberg. The real danger is the illegal ones. As per UN, illegal sports betting has reached $1.7 trillion annually, and more than 80% of sports gambling are made illegally. Thing is, people are not even aware of the fact whether they are betting legally or illegally. Even a survey report suggests that 82% of the illegal bettors did not even know that they were betting illegally. And sheer availability of cryptocurrencies made it all look too easy. The situation is doomed, don't you think? Unfortunately, easy access to all types of gambling has opened the floodgates to a new public health and addiction crisis around the globe, especially in countries like US, UK, Australia, India, and with major industries and celebrities behind it. It's hard to imagine that this epidemic is ending anytime soon. While casinos could target the pockets of the rich only, sports gambling attracted everyone. It has become the most effective way to transfer the fund from the lower and middle class to rich conglomerates, and it will continue to do so until the countries become a nation full of gamblers.